with us, and we're thankful to have with us the um, newly elected Democratic Caucus Chair, Representative Hakeem Jeffries. My brother, congratulations. How are you this morning?
Great, great. Always great to be with you, Mark, and appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir, brother. And, it's good to hear your voice, man. Congratulations on the victory yesterday.
Well, thank you. It was a hard fought contest against a tremendous member of Congress in Barbara Lee. I've got nothing but the highest degree of respect for her, and we both decided that we would run a contest of ideas, make our case to the caucus, and then come together afterward to do the business of the American people, and that's what I'm looking forward to doing. Working with Barbara and all of the other members of the House Democratic Caucus as we seize the
How
majority
long
on
should
January
Nancy
3rd.
Pelosi stay as Speaker, if she
Well,
gets Speaker?
well, I anticipate that she will be the next speaker, and I don't think that's for any of us to say. And I think she's correct when she said she looks forward to being a bridge to the next generation, but she's not going to lame duck herself.
Get back to Washington. Normally on a Monday there'll be votes 6:30 p.m. Uh, that are generally non-controversial, and then we convene on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. As House Democrats to discuss the items on the agenda for the week, debate issues, figure out how we're going to proceed in getting the things done that we've promised to do on behalf of the American people. The House caucus chair presides over those meetings, determines the agenda, and then also has a member services office to work to make sure that individual members of Congress can be successful in delivering for their constituents, and is one of the public faces of the House Democratic Caucus, of course, along with the Speaker, the House Majority Leader, the House Whip, and other members of the leadership team.
Okay, okay. Of course, there's speculation about your ultimate plans or your future plans. Some are suggesting that you are the person in this younger leadership that could succeed Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, Hakeem.
Well, I've got nothing but respect for our entire leadership team, and I think we've got a great mix of experience at the top with Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer and Jim Clyburn, and they've led us back into the majority, along with Ben Ray Lujan, who was also elected yesterday as an assistant leader, one of the top five leadership positions, and Catherine Clark, a strong progressive from Massachusetts, who was elected as vice chair of the caucus. All of us have served, I believe it's 5 terms or less in the United States Congress. And so we've got that combination that I think a lot of members of the caucus and people all throughout the country were asking for. And we've got a job to do right now, focused on issues in terms of delivering for the American people and protecting folks with pre-existing conditions, beginning our march toward universal health care coverage, strengthening the Affordable Care Act, increasing the pay for everyday Americans, fixing the Voting Rights Act, defending the Dreamers, ending the era of voter suppression. So I think for all of us, our view is as we get through sort of these organizational issues that are part of transitioning from the minority to the majority, we're looking forward to the opportunity to govern and to make life better for the people we represent.
So that's not necessarily in your plan right now. You aren't. It's not on your agenda in terms of what position you might seek in the future.
Yeah, no, not at all, because I think that the stakes are so high in dealing with the Trump administration, and the fact that we know he's going to continue to try to jam up the American people in a wide variety of ways. I mean, they had complete control of government, and their signature achievement was a reckless tax scam where 83% of the benefits went to the wealthiest 1% to
Right.
subsidize the lifestyles of the rich and shameless, and then want to stick the American taxpayer with a $2 trillion bill and roll back Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. It's insanity.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we're going to have to be the first line of defense against the things they may try to do while advancing progressive priorities as well. And that's the job that I'm focused on at this moment.
Some of our friend Representative Hakeem Jeffries with us, folks, 2 minutes past the hour, the newly elected Democratic Caucus chair. So we're two men talking, Brother Hakeem. You know, you and I have known each other for years. I have a lot of respect for you. But as two men, I need to also deal with a delicate issue because some of our sisters and some whom we mutually know, while they have congratulated you and are happy for you, there is some concern that we now no longer have an African American woman in the House leadership. And Barbara Lee was kind of, many people feel your opponent was carrying the torch for that. So what do we say? What would you say to black women as a new Democratic Caucus chair and where they fit in the Democratic in the House Democratic leadership and what role you might play even in your new role and your new title to be sure that they do have a voice and are represented in the Democratic Caucus?
It's a very important question that you asked, and it was a tough race because it was a race within the family of the Congressional Black Caucus. And that's why I think both of us tried to conduct that race in a very dignified fashion, knowing that we were going to have to come together. And Barbara Lee had a substantial amount of support in this race. It was close because she's been a phenomenal representative, as I mentioned in my remarks after the results were declared yesterday. She's been a voice for the voiceless, a defender for the disenfranchised, a principled public servant, and will go down in history as one of the most important figures in the Congress of the 21st century, and someone who represents a demographic, African American women, who are the most important demographic as it relates to the Democratic Party nationally at every level of government, including within the district that I represent back at home. And we do have to find a way to make sure that Barbara Lee's voice and the voices of others within the Congress that are similar in nature can continue to be heard. We will have two African-American women, Eddie Bernice Johnson, who's going to chair the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. She was the first nurse ever elected to Congress and a former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus and the one who placed my name in nomination yesterday. And, of course, Maxine Waters is going to be the chair of the Financial Services Committee, one of the four most important committees in the United States Congress. And nobody can accuse Maxine Waters of being bashful in expressing her views. So she will have an important voice at the table. And I think we all are going to figure out how to make sure that Barbara Lee's voice continues to be prominently featured. She's currently the vice chair of the Steering and Policy Committee. There may be opportunities there. There may be opportunities in other areas as it relates to her leadership on the Appropriations Committee. And so I think those are conversations that are happening and will continue to happen within the Congressional Black Caucus family and within the House Democratic Caucus family. And, of course, I'm fully engaged, fully supportive, and will do everything I can to make sure that Barbara Lee's voice is loudly and clearly heard in the next Congress.
Congressman Hakeem Jeffries with us. Just a couple more questions before we run, my brother. How aggressive will House Democrats be in pursuing more investigations into Donald Trump, Russia, emoluments, etc.?
Well, I also have the privilege of serving on the House Judiciary Committee, and I think Jerry Nadler has been very clear that we are going to make sure, along with Elijah Cummings, that our separate and co-equal branch of government responsibilities, where we are constitutionally obligated to serve as a check and balance on an out-of-control executive, are adhered to. And so in terms of determining the priorities of issues that we tackle first, We're going to have to figure that out over the next few weeks. But certainly the attacks on our democracy, the attacks on the right to vote, the abuse of taxpayer dollars, perhaps to benefit family and friends, is going to be explored as part of our oversight responsibilities. But I suggested, Mark, that we can't lose sight of the fact that we won this election largely around issues connected to health care and other kitchen table, pocketbook issues related to the quality of life for the American people. And if we are perceived as simply over-investigating and under-legislating, that could create significant challenges for us moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's a very good point. I kind of agree with what Maxine has been saying, and it seems to be bearing itself true. Unlike what happened in the Clinton years with Republicans, where they were, over investigating. Democrats don't necessarily have to. Maxine's always said that Donald Trump is going to lead us to impeachment himself, and he's really doing it, bro. I mean, we didn't ask him to have his boy cop a plea so he could serve as a double agent and spy on the special counsel. You kind of, that stuff takes care of itself. You may not. We Democrats don't have to come up with too much. He's kind of doing it on his own, I think.
Well, Donald Trump's worst nightmare in Washington, D.C. is Bob Mueller. And my view has been that we fought hard initially to force Jeff Sessions to recuse himself, and he recused himself. We then fought for the Department of Justice through the Deputy AG, Rod Rosenstein, to appoint a special counsel.
Right.
And Bob Mueller was subsequently appointed as special counsel, a phenomenal American who's done a tremendous job. So now we got to let Mueller be Mueller and let Trump be Trump.
Right.
And when the two meet, it's going to be big problems for the administration.
Lastly, Representative Jeffries, and we thank you for joining us this morning. I hope we can stay in regular contact. I want you to know you always have a space and a forum here. We don't talk enough. But lastly, I'm getting hit up, bruh, about all of your potential aspirations. So in the past week, people have asked me what you're going to do. I'm like, I don't know. So maybe you can help me. Tell me what say people. I asked you about speaker. Folk have asked me whether you're going to run for president and whether you're going to run for mayor of New York. So it's out there, man. And so help your brother out. What do you want me to say when people ask me if you're going to do all this stuff?
Well, no, I appreciate that. I certainly have no plans to run for president and have no plans to run for mayor.
Okay.
I just want to focus on the job that I'm doing right now in the House, as part of 235 Democrats who are going to do our thing fighting for the people, not the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. I made clear yesterday in some of my remarks that the days of standing up for the millionaires and billionaires in the House of Representatives ends on January 3rd when we take over. There's a lot of work to do. I will be actively involved in the effort to make sure that we present a strong presidential candidate who's got the compassion and the right approach to social and economic justice.
Yes, sir.
To be successful, to excite the electorate, and to win in 2020.
Congratulations again to you, sir. Thanks for being here, man, and we wish you all the luck, and we look forward to. Now, I know I know you're not in the Senate, too, but I'm sure you agree with us. We're asking everyone in South Carolina to call Senator Tim Scott, and everybody ought to call all their senators today and ask them to vote no on the confirmation of Judge Thomas Farr. I know you agree.
Absolutely. And, we can't keep treating the judiciary as if it's some exclusive Jim Crow-like country club in terms of who we're sending and putting on the federal bench. Mm-hmm. And Tim Scott's a good man, so people need to reach out to him and try to persuade him in this instance, do the right thing and vote against this terrible nomination.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, our very special guest. Congressman, thank you, brother. Okay, and congratulations again to you. We look forward to talking more, okay?
Always appreciate being on with you, brother. Thanks for what you do.
All right, thank you for what you do, too. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, ladies and gentlemen. 866-99-SIRIUS. 866-997-47.